this video, we're going to demonstrate how to install the E-Trigger electronic upgrade kit on your U.S. Army Alpha Black marker. We'll first kind of go over what comes in your kit. You have your electronic circuit board, you have your Seer, the magnet, Seer Spring, and 2 armature pins. I'll go over the armature pins here in a second. You also have your instruction manual. Obviously we're not going to be needing that because I'm going to demonstrate how to install this kit onto your marker. Okay, the tools you'll be needing to disassemble your marker and install the kit will include a 1/8 Allen wrench, a 5/64 Allen wrench. Both these Allen wrenches should come in your accessory pack. You'll also be needing a hammer with a punch and also a razor blade or some kind of cutting utensil. We'll first start off by removing our rubber grips using the 5/64 wrench. Now the reason I remove the grips first is because with the E-grip you have to cut the grips. You have to cut the rubber grips so you can access your power button and also see your LED light. You can kind of see on the inside of the grip here there's 2 channels, and you just want to cut those out using a razor knife. Now you're going to want to be very careful not to obviously cut yourself, but I usually just kind of cut like a little triangle shape and just kind of pull that little rubber out. And you're not really taking a lot of the rubber from the grip away. You're just cutting a very little piece of it out just so you can gain access to your power button and your LED light. So go ahead and cut that out. There we go. Now that our grips are cut, we can kind of set those off to the side. Leave them there to reinstall later. And we'll go ahead and start disassembling the rest of the marker. I'll usually start off just by removing the magazine. Set that off to the side. Your bolt handle cap. You can also remove your barrel. The foregrip, obviously using your 1/8 Allen wrench. And as you can see, I have left the elbow on the marker. It's my personal preference. I think it's easier to take the marker apart leaving the elbow on there. The reason I leave it on there is because it retains the front sight spring. It keeps it from, popping out and flying across the room. So it makes it a little bit easier that way, and that's how I prefer to do it. You can obviously take it apart however you like, but that's just a little quick tip to keep that the front sight spring from flying across the room. So we'll go ahead and disassemble the rest of the screws. Take your tank adapter screws off. And then all the receiver screws. Now that you have all those loosened up, you should be able to pry the left side receiver off there. Sometimes it'll be a little tight. That's not uncommon, especially with a new marker. Go ahead and remove that. Now, don't be surprised if, some of the receiver pins or, the trigger, the sear, whatever, are stuck to the left side that you just pulled off. You can see that I have my sear and the spring and a couple receiver pins were stuck to the side there. You just remove those and you can set your receiver off to the side. Go ahead and put your pins back into place where they originally came from. And since we're going to be removing the Seer and the Seer Spring anyways, because we're installing the new one for the E-grip, I'm just going to set that off to the side. You can just discard that. Now from there, you have your trigger, and we're going to remove that. And try to get a little closer shot here. Okay. Now you're going to need to remove your trigger return slide, which is this metal bracket. You can do that using one of the provided armature pins in your kit. Just go ahead and push that pin out. You can kind of see how it dropped it right there. There we go. So you have your pin that you're going to remove from the trigger return slide, and the spring. Okay, you're going to remove these and discard them as you no longer need them for the e-trigger kit. Those are the parts that obviously mechanically operate the marker, and now that we're installing the electronic kit, you no longer need those. So go ahead and reinstall your trigger. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and install our circuit board. And you can kind of see that some of the wires, they might be wrapped around the board, or the battery cable might be twisted around the board. You can just straighten those out and drop that micro switch onto the post there. Drop your board into place. Then you have your solenoid. You're going to drop down into its designated spot. The capacitor. We'll go ahead and install our magnet underneath the solenoid. And then from there, we're going to install our Seer and our Seer Spring. Just kind of move that battery cable out of the way there. And our Seer Spring. Now, the Seer Spring it's really, really lightweight, and it'll tend to want to pop out on you. If it's wanting to do that, what you can do, just real quick tip, you can rotate that Seer Spring till it wants to, to relieve some of that back pressure, because that spring will want to pop back out towards you. So just kind of rotate the spring a little bit until you find a nice spot where it wants to just sit in there and stay in place. Now for the armature pins. You have two different length armature pins that come with the kit. You have a longer one and you have a shorter one. The shorter one is for the Carver 1 marker only. So obviously you won't be needing the shorter armature pin for this install, because we're obviously putting it on an alpha black. So you're just going to go ahead and discard that. Put your longer armature pin in place. And then from there, that's that whole assembly. So we'll kind of set that off to the side. And we'll bring back the other receiver half and kind of show you what's next. Kind of get a close-up shot here. We'll remove these receiver screws. Makes it a little bit easier. And what I'm getting at here is we're going to knock out the battery door so you have access to your battery without having to take the entire gun apart. So I have the receiver obviously flipped upside down here, but you can see where that battery shape is at. And then using a hammer and a punch, you can just knock that out real quickly. As you can see, that kind of came out real nice and easy. Just go ahead and discard this piece, as you no longer will be needing it. And then we'll go ahead and bring our other receiver half back into place here. Kind of see while I was banging on the table, that spring popped out there. No big deal, we can get that back into place. Okay, just kind of make sure that everything's back into place. And we'll go ahead and install our receiver half. I have the safety here. We'll put it in the left-hand side of the receiver. I just like to do it because it's, in my opinion, it's just easier to put the gun back together with the safety being in the left-hand side of the receiver. So go ahead and take our battery cable. We'll feed that through. And we'll just drop our receiver back into place. And sometimes that receiver won't want to close completely. You want to check the tank adapter nuts on the receiver. Sometimes they'll get a little cockeyed because of that magnet. That magnet wants to pull that receiver nut towards it. So you can just kind of use some kind of tool just to straighten that out and get it seated back into the pocket. And then from there, that receiver should close pretty nice. And then from there, you have your longer receiver screws. Those will go through the middle here. And then this receiver screw we'll leave out because that also holds your foregrip on. And then the smaller screws will go everywhere else. And then we'll just snug these down. Go ahead and put our foregrip on. Reinstall our barrel. Go ahead and reinstall the magazine, bolt handle cap, and then put our screw back in that holds that shroud into place. Now, screws don't really have to be super tight. Hand tight with your Allen wrench is sufficient. We'll go ahead and install our 9-volt battery. Drop that into place. You're going to want to make sure that your battery tab is facing closest to the solenoid. And then from there you can drop your grips back into place. Those grips that we cut earlier. Same thing with the grip screws, not overly tight. Go ahead and put our other grip half back on. Okay. Then from there, try to get a close-up shot here. You can see where we cut out that grip. I'm using some kind of small tool, either a Allen wrench or a small screwdriver. You can insert it into that top hole where your power button's located. And you're going to push and hold that down from 7 to 10 seconds until it turns on. From there, you can kind of hear that clicking noise. That's your solenoid that's firing, and that will actually fire the bolt. Okay. Change modes, real simple. Just tap the power button. It'll flash a few times. Go to the next mode. If you were to do it again, flash a few more times, go to mode 3. Do it again, it'll flash 4 times, go to mode 4. And that's how you change the modes. As far as what modes you have, you can kind of refer to your owner's manual. And that is how you install the electronic trigger upgrade onto your U.S. Army Alpha Black marker.